Shabbat Shalom, family. Our scripture reading for today is Isaiah chapter 43, verse 1 and verse 3. Now thus saith Yahweh, that created thee, O Yaakov, and he that formed thee, O Israel, fear not, for I have redeemed thee. I have called thee by thy name, thou art mine. For I am Yahweh, thy Elohim, the Holy One of Israel, thy Savior.
Shabbat Shalom, family. Our selection today, I am redeemed.
Oracles of the UCI. 1 Peter chapter 4, verses 7 through 11. But the end of all things is at hand. Be you therefore sober and watch unto prayer. And above all things have fervent love among yourselves, for love shall cover the multitude of sins. Use hospitality one to another without grudging. As every man has received the gift, even so minister the same one to another as good stewards of the manifold grace of Elohim. If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of Elohim. If any man minister, let him do it as of the ability which Elohim gives, that Elohim in all things may be glorified through Yahshua the Mashiach, to whom be praise and dominion forever and ever. Amen. Ephesians chapter 4, verses 29 through chapter 5 and verse 4. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. And grieve not the Holy Spirit of Elohim, whereby you're sealed until the day of redemption. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. And be you kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as Elohim for Yahshua's sake has forgiven you. Be you therefore followers of Elohim, as their children, and walk in love, as the Mashiach also have loved us, and has given himself for us an offering and sacrifice to Elohim for a sweet-smelling savor. But fornication, and all uncleanness, or covetousness, let it not be once named among you as become saints. Neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather given of thanks. Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verses 1 and 2. Keep your foot when you go to the house of Elohim, and be more ready to hear, than to give the sacrifice of fools, for they consider not that they do evil. Be not rash with your mouth, and let not your heart be hasty to utter anything before Elohim. For Elohim is in heaven, and you upon earth, therefore let your words be few. Exodus chapter 23, verses 20 and 21. Behold, I send an angel before you to keep you in the way, and to bring you into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him and obey his voice. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him. Revelations chapter 3, verses 20 through 22. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come in to him and will sup with him and he with me. To him that overcomes will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I have also overcame and am sat down with my Father in his throne. He that has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says unto the churches.
All right, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Which is peace on the Yahweh's holy Sabbath day. Welcome to another holy convocation that Yahweh has enjoined unto us here in Stone Mountain, Georgia. We were recently sent an article, and we went over some of the things on during Bible study. And I want to, thank that, individual for sending that in. But it's very interesting how things are shaping as we get closer. When you read in the book, it says that, the adversary comes down having great wrath because he knows that he has but a short time. Well, and some of the developments that are happening, we have to ask ourselves, why now? Because people have been, pretending as long as they could to get as much money, but now they're starting to show themselves a little more boldly. This lets us know that time is moving forward, and we need to pay attention to that. Now, the article that we were recently sent was concerning why the Jewish do not believe in the Messiah. Several reasons were listed as the basis for the non-belief in the Mashiach. Reading the article brought forth questions in my spirit. The biggest question that I was left with was, who needs a Savior? It was stated in the article that Christ was a failure, and nowhere in the Tanakh or the Old Testament does it make provisions for someone to appear, not restore the children of Israel, and then come back again to finish the job that he failed at the first time. His words, not mine. So we're going to begin today's sermon in Deuteronomy chapter 18, because in this article was a whole lot of scripture. All right. And this is what sometimes gives people the thought process that these things have some kind of biblical basis, that it has some kind of validity, because it will list so many scriptures that you cannot possibly look at all of them. Matter of fact, after you've looked at 60 different scriptures, you're going to be even more confused than you were before the whole conversation started, which then leads to you leaning to maybe they're correct. So there's some things that we need to go to. So to get up to speed, if you did not listen to Bible study, you may want to go back and listen to that, because we're going to very few things that we're going to go over that was on that part. But we're going to start at Deuteronomy chapter 18, and I want to read verses 15 through 18.
Yahweh your Elohim will raise up unto you a prophet from the midst of you, of your brethren, like unto me, unto him shall you hearken. According to all that you desireth of Yahweh your Elohim in Horeb in the day of the assembly, saying, let me not hear again the voice of Yahweh my Elohim, neither let me see this great fire any more, that I die not.
So at this point, the request of the children of Israel has basically promised a Messiah. They did not want direct connection with Yahweh. They didn't like the way it felt. They didn't want to be presented with the power, because being in front of such a power means that you got to have yourself together. Okay? You can't just go and stand in front of that kind of power and not be consumed. They didn't want the responsibility. So we, from this point, and anybody who so-called believes that they just deal with the Old Testament, it is the Old Testament that guarantees us a Messiah. It was out of Israel's own mouth. This is base, okay? This is the basis for everything else. Do not come and speak to us anymore. No, talk to this dude. Now, we have to consider and look at certain things. It says, like unto me. Yahweh is going to send somebody. Understand, when you deal with Moshe, you got to take in all of the things that were there. We're talking about spending time face to face with the presence and the spirit of Yahweh, to the point where he started changing, that he wasn't a man anymore. So now you have to get in your mind a hybrid between a man and a God. And Yahweh said it's going to be, it's going to be like unto Moshe. All right? They have asked, they said. So we automatically are asking for something that is going to be in between a man and a God. Well, how do you do that? So you have to have that there, because if you don't, the other things as you start going through them, you won't really grasp those things. Go ahead.
Verse 17. And Yahweh said unto me, they have well spoken that which they have spoken. I'll raise them up a prophet from among their brethren, like unto you, and will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak unto them all that I shall command him.
All right. So then we have requested a certain thing. So then when you talk about, you have to think about all the attributes of Moshe, good and bad, triumphs and disciplinary action, all of that, and consider what we asked for. Now let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 1. Deuteronomy chapter 1. And we're going to have a good number of short readings today, because I want you to get right to these points, so you're going to want to write these down. Deuteronomy chapter 1 and verses 34 through 38.
And Yahweh heard the voice of your words and was angry, and sware, saying, Surely there shall not one of these men of this evil generation see that good land, which I swear to give unto your fathers. Save Caleb the son of Jephunneh, he shall see it. And to him will I give the land that he has trodden upon, and to his children, because he has wholly followed Yahweh. Also Yahweh was angry with me for your sake, saying, You also shall not go in thither.
Now, the rabbi who put forth this thing said there's anywhere where it's written that a savior was going to fail at the job and need a second attempt at doing so. The very first thing says, like unto me. Moshe didn't get to go in the promised land. See, you have to know when you're being given a spin job, all right? And to recognize that you're receiving a spin job, you need to not respect the persons of the individual who's standing in front of you, or be wooed by their so-called position of power. Go ahead.
But Yahshua, the son of Nun, which stands before you, he shall go in thither. Encourage him, for he shall cause Israel to inherit it.
Right. So Moshe being, now, you know, Yahweh has already said what kind of great situation that you know, Moshe has here, that I'm going to raise up a prophet like unto you, but you're not going in. That ultimate prize you're not going to get. The rabbi called Yahshua a failure. Keep reading. Did you get to 38?
Yep.
All right, now go to Deuteronomy chapter 3. And we're going to read verses 23 through 29.
And I besought Yahweh at that time,
Now,
saying,
this is Moshe asking. Go ahead.
And I besought Yahweh at that time, saying, O Adonai, you have begun to show your servant your greatness and your mighty hand. For what Elohim is there in heaven or on earth that can do according to your works and according to your might? I pray you, let me go over and see the good land that is beyond Jordan, that goodly mountain and Lebanon. But Yahweh was angry with me for your sakes and would not hear me. And Yahweh said unto me, Let it suffice you. Speak no more unto me of this matter.
Check that out. So it ain't like Moshe didn't want to. Okay? He wanted to. He's asking again, please, Yahweh, let me do this thing. Yahweh, we done talking about this. Let it suffice you. I have made my decision. So Yahweh's will reigns supreme. Okay. Wasn't we at a point that when it was time for Yahshua to go and pay that ultimate price, he asked his father, is there any other way?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't he ask? Mm-hmm. And Yahweh said, hey, you got to take care of this business. He said, all right. He went and asked 3 times. So was he not begging and pleading just like Moshe?
Mm-hmm.
So when he says a prophet like unto me, people are hoping that you don't understand what that means. They're hoping that you haven't done enough reading and study, that you won't be able to make the connection, that you won't be able to connect the dots. He said, like unto me. So you need to think about what he went through as you go through the things of the Mashiach. Go ahead.
Get you up into the top of Pisgah, and lift up your eyes westward and northward and southward and eastward, and behold it with your eyes, for you shall not go over this Jordan. But charge Yahshua, and encourage him, and strengthen him, for he shall go over before this people, and he shall cause them to inherit the land which you shall see. So we abode in the valley over against Beth Peor.
Okay, so in Moshe's time, did this not feel like a failure? That you went and got all these people. You went and stood in the breach for these people. You went and did all of these things. They come at you left and right. And your job is to lead them to the promised land, but you get close enough to the point where Yahweh said, no, you're not leading them. But I tell you what, come to the mountain and I'll let you see it. That's like window shopping. Men don't particularly window shop. We not. Now women can window shop all day long, week after week, and be planning. I'm gonna get this, I'm gonna get that. We go to the store maybe twice. The first time when we saw it, the next time when we go back to get it. We went back to the house. All right, now how much I'm gonna have to work to get the money up to go get that? I ain't going back to the store now till I got enough money. Now, once we get our paper right, that's our next trip to the store in most occasions. So we don't like to window shop for things that we know we can't afford. He lets him see it. And the person is hoping, this person is hoping that you will connect to their title and believe that they know so much and that you're not going to investigate. He says, like unto me. Moshe had to suffer that. Yeshua had to suffer something. So that's something that we have to keep into consideration. Let's go to Acts chapter 1.
You know,
go ahead, bro.
In this same situation here, as you're bringing all these parallels, didn't the adversary take Yeshua up into the mountain and show him the kingdoms of the world?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Okay.
But see, but you have to ask yourself, why now are you coming out against the Messiah? You have been collecting money from the Christian Fellowship for the Jews and all these other organizations, all right, for many decades. And now the bold talk is coming against the Messiah. See? So that means that all that time, they've been getting their money right. Now, they're showing themselves. But it serves Sunday morning right. You went in bed with some people to do, it says, follow not a multitude to do evil. And then, you know, when they get down to lockup, they found out that ain't no honor among thieves. What you mean Jimmy turned on me? No, me and Jimmy had a pact that none of us was gonna tell. When they got Jimmy and they put them lights on him. Jimmy sung like a bird. Y'all, it was Keith that came up with the whole idea. If you go in my room and look under the bed, I'll show you the plans. You got his name all over it. Right. Acts chapter 1, and we're going to read verses 6 through 11.
When they therefore were come together, they asked of him, saying, Adonai, will you at this time restore again the kingdom to Israel?
Right. See, everybody wants what they want to happen at that particular time. And if it doesn't happen when they want it, they say that person was a failure. Now, you just want something and you want it now. Keep reading.
And he said unto them, it is not for you to know the times or the season which the Father has put in his own power.
Exactly. So in other words, it wasn't time. Yeshua wasn't a failure. It wasn't time for that to happen. Things must be done decently and in order. And the time don't speed up because you feel some type of way. Because you want what you want at this particular time. Go ahead.
But you shall receive power. After that, the Holy Spirit is come upon you, and you shall be witnesses unto me, both in Jerusalem and in all Judea and in Samaria and unto the uttermost part of the earth.
Right. This part has to be taken care of. We got to go and spread this gospel. And for men to actually make an honest decision, you need to not be in power. See, everybody listens to the folks who own everything. But how Yahweh judges the hearts of men, no. I'm going to get me a little sanctuary, and I'm going to see who knocked down the doors to try to get in. This is how he judges the hearts of men. by the time he gets something and it's a humongous temple and it covers 4-5 blocks, he done already chose who he gonna deal with. Because he knows one thing. Here come the fakers now. Here come the people who act like they're gonna work but not gonna do anything. Here come the people who act like they are servants but they're not gonna put anything in. They just seat dwellers. He already know that. So he makes sure he doesn't show all of his power right away. So he's gonna see, no, I'm gonna give you this half a talent and I'm gonna see what you're gonna do with it. I wanna see who run to me when there ain't no gold on the doorknobs. So everybody want to walk down streets of gold. You don't have to find a true friend to walk down the streets of gold. You ask any old stranger, you walk, hey man, hey, look, I just found the street of gold. You want to walk it with me? Yes, I do. Now, you ask somebody, look here, man, I got adversity going on down here. It is darkness. It is full of curves and pits. Matter of fact, what's your name? Okay, would you like to walk this? No, absolutely not. I don't want to walk that with you. That's your road. I'm not taking that road. All right, that's how Yahweh chooses men. He wants to know, who gonna walk down the dark alley with me? Who gonna kick it when we ain't got no place to stay? Those are the people who get the key to the place with the gold knobs. That's why when people come up using Yahweh, he blinds it from us for a time. And you have to wonder, about just the genius of Yahweh. Why does he blind us that somebody is trying to use him? Because he using them while they using him. And if you see it, you gonna stop it. Hey man, you using my God, get out of here. You know, like, no, I got this. Sit down, boy, I got this. No, I see what they came in with. No, I'm gonna blind you from this. I don't need you. Now let them go ahead and do this, and this. And then I'm also get them to do that, and that. So while they using me over here, I'm using them over there. And when their contract run out, then I'm gonna let you see it, and then you can throw them out. Genius. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 9. And when he had spoken these things, while they beheld, he was taken up, and a cloud received him out of their sight.
Okay, so when Moshe was buried, who buried him?
Hmm.
Okay, so he went up to the mount, and they never seen him anymore. Right, go ahead.
And while they looked steadfastly toward heaven as he went up, behold, 2 men stood by them in white apparel, which also said, You men of Galilee, why stand you gazing up into heaven? This same Yahshua, which is taken up from you into heaven, shall so come in like manner as you have seen him go into heaven.
Keep reading.
Then returned they unto Jerusalem from the mount called Olivet.
Okay, so it was on the Mount Olivet. Mm-hmm. Wait a minute, and he took Moshe up to the mount, and that was the last time they seen him. Okay, so like unto me, I need for you to understand the depth of that statement. Okay? So when somebody comes with a title and telling you that your Messiah was a failure, you need to understand what you're working with. Oh, and most of your tearing them up, it's going to come out of the book that they say they deal with. Out of that Torah. Out of the Tanakh. Okay? Now let's go to Matthew chapter 27. So you have to consider something. During the times of Noah, destruction was on the way, but they were singing, they were marrying, giving into marriage. They were doing all those things. Why? Because they didn't think they needed a savior. Mm-hmm. So then you have to ask yourself, who needs a savior? Do the people who own most of the things on the earth, what do they need saving from? You ever heard anybody say, you please break in here and save me from all this money? You ever heard anybody call 911? This money is bothering me. Get here now. You ain't never heard that one of those calls. We got a brother here that's a first responder. You ever heard one of them calls where you had to go save somebody from all their money?
Wait, no.
Yeah, wait. Brother said he waiting on that call. So I can't stand sitting in all this luxury. Can you please come get me? That call ain't never been made. We ain't never heard that call. I watched a lot of episodes of Cops. That is a call that I have not heard. So then we have to ask ourselves, who then needs a savior? And what happens when people are approached who don't think they need one? They mock the saving. Isn't that what they did during the times of Noah? And in that what Rahab's family, they ain't trying to listen to it. You what? Ain't nobody trying to listen to you. What you talking about? We find that life is good here. Each time, the people who don't believe that they need saving, they mock the people who come to save them. So people who need a savior are not going to mock the savior. Matthew chapter 27, and let's start that at verse 32.
And as they came out, they found a man of Cyrene, Simeon by name. Him they compelled to bear his cross. And when they were come unto a place called Golgotha, that is to say, a place of a skull, they gave him vinegar to drink mingled with gall. And when he had tasted thereof, he would not drink. And they crucified him, and parted his garments, casting lots, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by the prophets. They parted my garments among them, and upon my vesture did they cast lots. And sitting down, they washed him there. And set up over his head this accusation written, This is Yahshua, King of the Yehudis. Then were there two thieves crucified with him, one on the right hand and another on the left. And they that passed by reviled him, wagging their heads, and saying, You that destroyed the temple, and builded it in 3 days, save yourself. If you be the son of Elohim, come down from the cross. Likewise also the chief priests mocking him with the scribes and elders said, He saved others, himself he cannot save. If he be king of Israel, let him now come down from the cross, and we will believe him. He's trusted in Elohim, let him deliver him now, if he will have him. For he said, I am the son of Elohim.
And you have to wonder, after Moshe has parted the waters, after he has turned so bright that he has to put a cover over his face, you have to know Israel. What you mean you can't go in? I mean, we looking at your glow. What you mean? You mean tell me you did all this? We watched the Egyptians get covered in water and we walked through. What you mean you can't walk? He ain't gonna let you go in. See, when Yahweh places a limitation on something, we don't understand it. We see one thing and automatically think the other is coming behind it. Go ahead.
The thieves also, which were crucified with him, cast the same in his teeth. Now from the 6th hour there was darkness over all the land unto the 9th hour. And about the 9th hour Yahshua cried with a loud voice, saying, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. That is to say, my Elohim, why have you forsaken me? Some of them that stood there, when they heard that, said, This man calls for Elias. And straightway one of them ran, and took a sponge and filled it with vinegar, and put it on a reed, and gave him to drink. The rest said, Let be, let us see whether Elias will come to save him. Yahshua, when he had cried again with a loud voice, yielded up the ghost. And behold, the veil of the temple was rent in two from the top to the bottom, and the earth did quake, and the rocks rent.
All right, so now I want to go to Genesis chapter 14, because at this point, you know, they were really upset about that writing where it says he's the king of the Jews. But we then have to make another correlation here. Let's go to Genesis chapter 14. And we're going to read verses 17 through 24. Genesis, 14, and then 17 through 24.
And the king of Sodom went out to meet him after his return from the slaughter of Chedorlaomer, and of the kings that were with him, at the valley of Shaveh, which is the king's dale. And Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought forth bread and wine, and he was the priest of the Most High Elohim.
All right, so we have to understand who Melchizedek is. He's not just a king, he's a king and a priest. Now, we have to understand that at this point, Israel has not even been set up as a nation. But when Israel is set up as a nation, there's a separation between the kings and the priests. But later on, Yahweh starts doing some things with the Messiah, and then he merges those two back with Yahshua. But from the beginning, it was so. Melchizedek is not just a king, he's a king and a priest. Go ahead.
And he blessed him and said, Blessed be Abram of the Most High Elohim, possessor of heaven and earth. And blessed be the Most High Elohim, which has delivered your enemies into your hand. And he gave him tithes of all. And the king of Sodom said unto Abram, Give me the persons, and take the goods to yourself. And Abram said to the king of Sodom, I have lifted up mine hand unto Yahweh, the Most High Elohim, the possessor of heaven and earth, that I will not take from a thread even to a shoe latchet, and that I will not take anything that is yours, lest you should say, I have made Abram rich. Save only that which the young men have eaten, and the portion of the men which went with me, Aner, Eshkah, and Mamre. Let them take their portion.
All right. Now let's go to Numbers, because we have to set forth this basis between Moshe and Yahshua. So Numbers chapter 12, and I want to read verses 2 through 8.
And they said, Has Yahweh indeed spoken only by Moshe? Has he not spoken also by us? And Yahweh heard it. Now the man Moshe was very meek above all the men which were upon the face of the earth. And Yahweh spake suddenly unto Moshe, and unto Aaron, and unto Miriam, Come out, you three, unto the tabernacle of the congregation. And they three came out. And Yahweh came down in the pillar of the cloud, and stood in the door of the tabernacle, and called Aaron and Miriam, and they both came forth. And he said, Hear now my words.
Hear now my words. Go ahead.
If there be a prophet among you, I, Yahweh, will make myself known unto him in a vision, and will speak unto him in a dream.
So prophets get their instruction through dreams and visions. You ever notice if folks say, I talked to God last night? Was it a dream or a vision? Or he came face to face and talked to you? You let folks be like, I was just walking in my backyard and God started talking. And he said, Daryl, I said, yes. Go ahead.
My servant Moshe is not so.
Not so.
Who is faithful in all mine house.
In all mine house. He follows every direction I've given him. Even when it upsets his life and disrupts his life, he follows. I send him somewhere else, he get up and go. Go ahead.
With him will I speak mouth to mouth, even apparently, and not in dark speeches.
Stop. So when somebody claim to you that they done talk to God face to face, so whoa, hold on now. So you telling me you on the level of Moshe and Yahshua? You can't just be because Yahshua was made like unto Moshe. So if you telling me you're speaking face to face, then you telling me you Moshe and Yahshua. You telling me you on that level. So they need to make another seat for you. There's Moshe, there's Yahshua, and then there's Ralph. Now we got the unholy Trinity with these three. Right. Go ahead.
And the similitude of Yahweh shall he behold.
Shall he behold. But yet, people will tell you, folks that don't even know when the Sabbath is, folks who can't follow no instruction, but yet God talked to them face to face. So you telling me you on this level? But he didn't tell you when his holy days was. But he told you to go get that plane, though. Go ahead.
Wherefore then were you not afraid to speak against my servant Moshe?
So, understanding that, how he's dealing with him. So, we're talking about a level here. All right? So, I want you to go read from the next graphic there. I don't want y'all to go to it because we're going to read one verse. Exodus chapter 7 and verse 1. Write it down. Go ahead.
And Yahweh said unto Moshe, see, I have made you a god to Pharaoh.
I'm sorry, what? I'm sorry, he made him a what?
A god to Pharaoh.
He made him a god to Pharaoh. Okay, read some more.
And Aaron your brother shall be your prophet.
Wait a minute. Hold on. So Moshe a god, and he got his own prophet. So then we got levels here. So when somebody telling you they speaking face to face like Moshe, now you're not just telling us you Yahshua, you're telling me you a God. You telling me you a God. You ever notice that it's the people who don't never do anything? Folks, I'm waiting for Yahweh himself to tell me to get a baptism. I don't need anybody else to tell me. God's going to tell me himself. Can't follow no instruction, can't follow anything, but still believe God speak to them. And we have these problems, and they haven't even legalized it here. When they legalize that medicinal, we're finna have some problems. Because folks gonna have some conversations, and they gonna swear it was real. We're gonna have to start going down the line when they say, I talked to God last night. What had you smoked right before that? Matter of fact, that's probably gonna be the name of that. Talk to God. You know? Because they always putting some kind of name on it, you know what I'm saying? They gonna give you some of that talk to God, boy. Hey, the line gonna be around the block. Yeah, let me get 2 bags of that talk to God. I wanna be so high, I wanna have talk with him. Right. Let's go to Hebrews chapter 5. Somebody probably bagging that up right now. That was a really good idea. Thank you, son. Hebrews chapter 5, and we're going to read verses 1 through 10.
For every high priest taken from among men is ordained for men in things pertaining to Elohim, that he may offer both gifts and sacrifices for sins, who can have compassion on the ignorant and on them that are out of the way, for that he himself also is compassed with infirmity. And by reason hereof he ought, as for the people, so also for himself, to offer for sins. And no man takes this honor unto himself, but he that is called of Elohim, as was Aaron. So also Yahshua glorified not himself to be made an high priest, but he that said unto him, You are my son, today have I begotten you. As he says also in another place, You are a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek.
All right, so then wait a minute now. So Yahshua then is not just, because they already put over the crucifixion, king of the Yehudis. Oh, no. No, he's saying he's king and priest. Just like the foundation in the beginning with Melchizedek. So when people decide that they're going to put themselves on that level, you're playing a very dangerous game. Go ahead.
Who in the days of his flesh, when he had offered up prayers and supplications with strong crying and tears unto him that was able to save him from death, and was heard in that he feared, though he were a son, yet learned he obedience by the things which he suffered.
How you think any son learn? From the things that he suffered. And if you don't make your kids suffer nothing, I can tell you you're going to have one of the most unruly kids ever. And people wonder when a kid get 15, 16 and they'll just knock their mom and daddy down. How would that happen? Because they didn't learn obedience when they were 5 months. That's why when they're 15, they knocking over their mama. See, where I come from, even if the mama won't do it, The kid stand up to his mama, uncle will clear the whole sofa. Wow. Didn't ask the mama nothing. Why you hit him? You can thank me later. It might be 10 years from now when you thank me, but you can thank me later. He need to know if he stand up to you that he gonna fall down. Go ahead.
And being made perfect, he became the author of eternal salvation unto all them that obey him, called of Elohim and high priest, and after the order of Melchizedek.
Called to be a high priest after the order of Melchizedek. So we have some things here. While people are trying to make him, because they're saying, okay, the article says he didn't redeem the children of Israel. So then they're just looking at the level of king then, aren't they? Yahweh was doing something much greater. See, this is what happened when you think you know his book like him. This is what happens when you think you know the word. You spend all your time learning all these languages and studying and all of that, and you think you know it the way he know it. So you think you know what he's doing. This is what a king does. Yes, he restores the kingdom to the people. He was greater than that. See, they're trying to deal with that. Yahweh is also dealing with the priesthood. You can't rush that to fit your timeline. Let's go to John chapter 19. Yohanan chapter 19. And we're going to read verses 16 through 22.
Verse 16. Then delivered he him therefore unto them to be crucified. And they took Yahshua and led him away. And he, bearing his burden, went forth into a place called the place of a skull, which is called in the Hebrew Golgotha, where they crucified him, and two other with him, on either side one, and Yahshua in the midst. And Pilate wrote a title and put it on the cross, and the writing was, Yahshua of Nazareth, King of the Yehudis.
Now they don't like this now. Go ahead.
This title then read many of the Yehudis, for the place where Yahshua was crucified was near to the city, and it was written in Hebrew and Greek and Latin. Then said the chief priests of the Yehudis to Pilate, write not, the King of the Yehudis, but that he said, I am the King of the Yehudis. Pilate answered, what I've written, I've written.
Right. Y'all done already pushed me to do things that I didn't want to do. You ain't going to change this writing. It is what it is. So now let's go. I want to go to, it's popping over here. It's probably getting to that water at this point. Let's go to Zechariah chapter 3. You got it. Zechariah chapter 3. And we're going to do start at verse 1. We're going to read verses 1 through 10. He said, get some more oil.
Zechariah chapter 3 and verse 1. And he showed me Yahshua the high priest standing before the angel of Yahweh, and Satan standing at his right hand to resist him. And Yahweh said unto Satan, Yahweh rebuke you, O Satan. even Yahweh that has chosen Jerusalem rebuke you. Is not this a brand plucked out of the fire?
Now, you know, when you deal with this, of course, this is Old Testament. We're talking about Yahshua, the high priest. You know, just even that his name is Yahshua. We're talking about the high priest. And as Priest Kish mentioned, did Satan not come to him and try to get him to turn against Yahweh, understanding that some things were going to have to take place? But the adversary, the devil, wants to get you to skip those processes. See, this is how he convinces us to do some things, because he wants to offer us some things out of time. Yahweh says, oh, I'm going to give you that, but I'm going to give you that in my time, because I know if I give it to you now, it's going to destroy you. The adversary, the devil, don't care if you get destroyed. So he offers that to you. Look. You ain't got to go to all these people going to school and doing all of that so they can get a bad man wagon. Look here, I can give you a bad man wagon tonight. Just follow me. Go ahead.
Now Yahshua was clothed with filthy garments and stood before the angel. And he answered and spake unto those that stood before him, saying, Take away the filthy garments from him. And unto him he said, Behold, I have caused your lawlessness to pass from you, and I'll clothe you with change of raiment. And I said, Let them set a fair mitre upon his head. So they set a fair mitre upon his head, and clothed him with the garments. And the angel of Yahweh stood by. And the angel of Yahweh protested unto Yahshua, saying, Thus says Yahweh of hosts, If you will walk in my ways, and if you will keep my charge, then you shall also judge my house, and shall also keep my courts, and I'll give you places to walk among these that stand by. Hear now, O Yahshua the high priest, you and your fellows that sit before you, for they are a man wondered at. For behold, I'll bring forth my servant the branch. For behold, the stone that I have laid before Yahshua, upon one stone shall be 7 eyes.
7 spirits. Go ahead.
Behold, I'll engrave the graving thereof, saith Yahweh of hosts, and I'll remove the lawlessness of that land in one day. In that day, says Yahweh of hosts, shall you call every man his neighbor under the vine and under the fig tree.
Now, if you pay attention, you'll hear a lot of people reciting this part in Israel about coming under the vine and under the fig tree. They're using that to talk about every man coming and having his own place. Okay? So let's go now to Isaiah chapter 11. Now the irony is, no one has suffered not having their own place more than us. We have whole towns that have been taken from us, places that they that they have beachfront resorts on. That was ours. You have a place right here in Gwinnett County where the people ended up buying the plantation that they used to be slaves on. How about Gwinnett County trying to take it back? After all these years, they're now claiming eminent domain because they want, so that you understand, everybody tell us to let stuff go. They ain't letting it go. They want that plantation back. And they sure don't want them slaves to have it. So they trying to claim eminent domain. They offer them a little piece of money for some $1 million property. Who suffers with this? So when somebody says you'll be under your own vine and your own fig tree, that doesn't mean anything to people who own everything. But when everything has been taken from you, you build a city and somehow people fly over with barrel bombs and set it on fire. Forsyth County, where all the $1 million homes is, right up from here. How they get that land? Claim a black man one black man did something. Killed 10, 15 people, set the rest of the town on fire. Next thing you know, there's a change from the property. There's no sale from the black person to the Gentiles. Now they own $1 million property. Who suffers from this? Us. When he says you will have your own place and my people will move no more. Every time we build something and those people decide that they want it, they have gentrification or something that happens and then it gets taken from us. And we move from place to place where we're sitting now. We were not allowed to sit here a couple decades ago because Stone Mountain was Ku Klux Klan land. That's why you got Confederate soldiers carved on that Stone Mountain. That's why when the laser show come and you start hearing yee-haw, because then right at the end they say, I wish I was in Dixie. I wish oh boy, that's the Making America Great Again song right there. I wish I was in Dixie. Even the laser show had General Lee riding off into the sunset on his horse. Every street at Stone Mountain Park is after some Confederate general. We get something, somebody find out it is of value, they find a way to take it from us. And if we don't sell for nothing, we mysteriously disappear. So when Yahweh says you're going to be under your own vine and your own fig tree, I need for you to understand what that means to you. Isaiah chapter 11, and we're going to read verses 1 through 16.
And there shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his root.
Here come this branch again. Now, this branch, you know, we're starting to hear a lot more about this branch. Go ahead.
And the Spirit of Yahweh shall rest upon him. The Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and might, the Spirit of knowledge and of the fear of Yah.
Right. So then that is 7 spirits if you count them up. When it said about Yahshua the high priest, it says it was a stone with 7 eyes. Go ahead.
And shall make him of quick understanding in the fear of Yahweh. And he shall not judge after the sight of his eyes, neither reprove after the hearing of his ears. But with righteousness shall he judge the poor, and reprove with equity for the meek of the earth. And he shall smite the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips shall he slay the wicked. And righteousness shall be the girdle of his loins, and faithfulness the girdle of his reins. The wolf also shall dwell with the lamb, and the leopard shall lie down with the kid. And the calf and the young lion and the fatling together, and a little child shall lead them.
So then what we're dealing with here then is the part of the priest portion that Yahshua has to play. See, they're just focusing on the kingship part. So then even if you understand what's happening in the land of Israel, they only claim to be what? Judah and Benjamin. What other tribes at? Matter of fact, by even their own account, there should be no priests because they only have 2 tribes, Judah and Benjamin. Where's Levi? Where the priest? Where the priest at? Go ahead. Where they at? Right. Keep going.
And the cow and the bear shall feed, their young ones shall lie down together. And the lion shall eat straw like the ox, and the sucking child shall play on the hole of the ass, and the weaned child shall put his hand on the cockatrice's den.
A weaned child. This is a child that just got through getting breastfed. And he playing what we know is a poisonous snake. He playing with it. It's a toy. Now, what I tell you, the adversary, the devil, like to mess up timing, right? Things that Yahweh is already going to allow you to do. The adversary wants to trick you to do it before time so that you will eventually lose your access when it is time. There's an age requirement to have a firearm. What does the adversary do? Push us to get one beforehand so that when it's time for us to legally obtain one, we cannot because we went too early and lost our right. He says the weaned child is going to play in the cockatrice's den. He's going to play with a snake. What we want to do? Let's go to the park and let's put the snake on our neck and let's walk through the park, man. It's so feng shui. All the ladies will walk up. Can I touch it? Yeah, girl, go and hold that. It ain't time yet. Them folks always ask me, hey, bro, you want to touch the snake? Oh, it ain't time yet. Like, what are you talking about? It ain't time yet. It ain't time yet. When it's time, believe you me, I'm getting all that. I'm getting me a snake, I'm getting me a lion. I'm going to ride down the street with a lion and a snake. But it ain't time yet. Go ahead.
They shall not hurt nor destroy in all my holy mountain, for the earth shall be full of the knowledge of Yahweh as the waters cover the sea. And in that day there shall be a root of Jesse, which shall stand for an ensign of the people. To it shall the Gentiles seek, and his rest shall be glorious.
So the Gentiles are going to seek this thing that comes out of Israel. But when these things take place, so how is Israel in all of these forums all around the world now? How are they being sought out now? Keep reading.
And it shall come to pass in that day that the Adonai shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people.
The second time. All right? So this has absolutely nothing to do with Egypt. This is again. All right? Go ahead.
Which shall be left from Assyria and from Egypt and from Pathros and from Cush and from Elam and from Shinar and from Hamath and from the islands of the sea.
Right. And we understand that only certain people are being allowed in Israel. Even their little law of Aliyah, they're changing all of these things. So, yes, you can return if you Jewish and you look a certain way. This is why people are being told we don't want to find any lost tribes. When they say lost tribes, they mean you. Go ahead.
And he shall set up an ensign for the nations, and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel, and gather together the dispersed of Yehudah from the four corners of the earth.
Gather together the dispersed of Yehudah. Now, we then have to figure out, okay, how were they dispersed? Because when these people are saying that they are this or they are that, how did you get dispersed to these places? Go ahead.
The envy also of Ephraim shall depart, and the adversaries of Yehudah shall be cut off. Ephraim shall not envy Yehudah, and Yehudah shall not vex Ephraim. But they shall fly up on the shoulder of the Philistines toward the west. They shall spoil them of the east together. They shall lay their hand upon Edom and Moab, and the children of Ammon shall obey them. And Yahweh shall utterly destroy the tongue of the Egyptian sea, and with his mighty wind shall he shake his hand over the river, and shall smite it in the seven streams, and make men go over dry shod.
What? Isn't that what happened with Moshe? Didn't they go over dry? Okay, go ahead.
And there shall be an highway for the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria, like as it was to Israel in the day that he came up out of the land of Egypt.
And then he clearly says it to you. See? You don't have to use your imagination. All you got to do is just read. He said, I'm going to do the same thing again. So let's go to Jeremiah chapter 23.
Jeremiah chapter 23 and verse 1. Woe be unto the pastors that destroy and scatter the sheep of my pasture, says Yahweh. Therefore thus says Yahweh Elohim of Israel against the pastors that feed my people. You have scattered my flock, and have driven them away, and have not visited them. Behold, I'll visit upon you the evil of your doings, says Yahweh. And I'll gather the remnant of my flock out of all countries, whither I have driven them. And I'll bring them again to their folds, and they shall be fruitful and increase. And I'll set up shepherds over them, which shall feed them. And they shall fear no more, nor be dismayed, neither shall they be lacking, says Yahweh. Behold, the days come, says Yahweh, that I'll raise unto David a righteous branch, and a king shall reign and prosper, and shall execute judgment and justice in the earth. In his days, Yehudah shall be saved.
In his days, Yehudah shall be saved. Now, who are we being told that is in the land of Israel now? The Jews. Wait a minute. Jew is Yehudah.
Mm-hmm.
So if in his days Yehudah shall be saved, we have a problem. How is self-proclaimed saying that they are the Jews? How are you there now? See, sometimes when people go about to debunk something else, they're debunking themselves, if you know how to listen. How are you there? Go ahead.
And in his days Yehudah shall be saved, and Israel shall dwell safely.
All right, is any safety going on there? But people will come up with reasons to you why they don't believe in the Messiah, not understanding that they are actually putting forth reasons why you should not believe in them. Go ahead.
And this is his name whereby he shall be called, Yahweh our righteousness. Therefore, behold, the days come, says Yahweh, that they shall no more say, Yahweh lives, which brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. But Yahweh lives, which brought up and which led the seed of the house of Israel out of the north country, and from all countries whither I have driven them, and they shall dwell in their own land.
Right. So then that is something that Yahweh is obviously making of importance, because he keeps going through it. So now let's go to Yoel chapter 3, because at this point we have to then deal with, okay, these scattered people who Yahweh keeps talking about, how are these people getting scattered? And let's not, take it upon ourselves to try to figure that out. Let's see what the book says about how these people are going to be scattered. Because when someone, or a group of people just end up in a country, you have to then ask yourself, how did you end up in this country? How did you just end up at this place here? Yoel chapter 3, and we're going to read verses 1 through 17.
For behold, in those days and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Yehudah and Jerusalem.
So then, bring again means cause to cease. He's going to cause the captivity of Yehudah and Jerusalem to cease. Go ahead.
I'll also gather all nations, and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations, and parted my land.
Okay, so wait a minute. I need to read to you the subheading. It says right over verse 2, the judgment of the Gentile nations after Armageddon. All right, verse 2, I will also gather all nations, and I will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, and I will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations. Wait a minute. So then these very Gentile nations are the ones who scattered Israel. So then we have to ask ourselves, when someone tells you or us that they are Israel, then we should be able to look in their history and find where they were scattered by Gentiles. So when I look in my history, I can check that. Go ahead.
And they have cast lots for my people, and have given a boy for an harlot, and sold a girl for wine that they might drink.
All we got to do is go look at the book of the Negroes. We were sold for cognac. And we can't figure out why we like Hennessy today. You got sold for it. You should definitely taste some. Go ahead.
Yea, and what have you to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon, and all the coasts of Palestine? will you render me a recompense? And if you recompense me, swiftly and speedily will I return your recompense upon your own head. Because you have taken my silver and my gold, and have carried into your temples my goodly pleasant things. The children also of Yehuda and the children of Jerusalem have you sold unto the Grecians.
Sold unto the Grecians. So when somebody tells you that they are Israel, we have to then say, okay, we know that Greeks are Gentiles. All right? So you were you sold to the Romans? Show us where you were sold to these people. You can't just miraculously say you ended up in a place. Tell us how you got there. Go ahead.
That you might remove them far from their border. Behold, I'll raise them out of the place whither you have sold them.
Where you have sold them. Go ahead.
And will return your recompense upon your own head.
He's going to take care of that business. That's not our job. That's his job. Go ahead.
And I'll send your sons and your daughters.
I will
sell your sons and your daughters into the hand of the children of Yehuda. And they shall sell them to the Sabaeans, to a people far off, for Yahweh hath spoken it.
What did he say? What goes around comes around. What you have done in the dark, I'm going to do in the light. You sold those. This is why it's certain things that the African American churches were not allowed to read. He says, I'm going to do to you what you've done to other people. You sold people's sons, I'm going to have them sell your sons. It's only right. This is why people are always worried when you gather. This is why people are worried when you get on the corner and it's more of you. You can look at 20 Gentiles and they don't bother them. 4 of us stand on the corner and start laughing and joking, and here come the popo. Why? They are worried. Not understanding, you can do everything you can do to hold this back. This is going to happen from Yahweh, not from us. Go ahead.
You know, in this situation here, the people, if Yehuda is back in the land and the people are back in the land, there should have been some auction block or some sale going on, right?
Should have been something going. Something should have been happening. Go ahead.
Proclaim you this among the Gentiles. Prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Tell all the men of war, draw near, let them come up.
Now, you notice all of this starts talking about the Gentiles, right? So then that means when people are proclaiming certain things, they are trying their best to proclaim that they are not Gentiles. You have to learn the trick of the game. When somebody says something and it is then termed anti-Semitic, that's 20 different ethnicities of people. How does saying something against one person makes you anti-Semitic? Unless you're trying to use that statement to get the world to not see you as a Gentile. Interesting. Go ahead.
Beat your plowshares into swords, and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. Assemble yourselves, and come, all you heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause your mighty ones to come down, O Yahweh. Let the heathen be wakened, and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat. For there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about.
Right. So the heathen is going to come up, obviously really feeling like they are the ones doing the attacking, but they're coming up to get attacked. See, this is how Yahweh, pulls people through their own heart. Go ahead.
Put you in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come, get you down, for the press is full. The fats overflow, for their wickedness is great. Multitudes, multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of Yahweh is near in the valley of decision. The sun and the moon shall be darkened, and the stars shall withdraw their shining.
And we can't recall this happening in 1948. I read a lot of things about 1948. The sun and the moon part, I haven't read that at all. Go ahead.
Yahweh also shall roar out of Zion, and utter his voice from Jerusalem, and the heavens and the earth shall shake. but Yahweh will be the hope of his people and the strength of the children of Israel.
You know, I want to make sure that you guys are going to our website at theuci.org. You can look at stream those classes from there, those Sabbath sermons. You need to be getting yourself acquainted with it in the event that as we are teaching some of these things that we start getting shut out of some of these little broadcast windows, if you will. I got an email that a class of ours was taken off saying that it violated their policy about something. The class was done in 2018. Somehow it got on somebody's radar, and that class has been removed. But so the game starts. Go ahead.
So shall you know that I am Yahweh your Elohim, dwelling in Zion, my holy mountain. Then shall Jerusalem be holy, and there shall no strangers pass through her anymore.
No strangers pass through her anymore. This is a very, very interesting. So Yahweh is saying until the real children of Israel get there, it is being overrun by strangers. That is a very interesting concept. Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 36. You know, when I ask the question about why now, you have to understand something. At any given point, these people could have always put out something saying that they did not believe in this Jesus character. They could have always said, we're talking about individuals who are in control of the media. They had ample opportunity to say that they did not believe in this. But they let it go on for a long time. As laws are being passed that now a Christian evangelizing in Israel is a criminal offense. Yet, here, you can't even speak directly against Israel and it be not considered a hate crime now. Here. So while they're passing laws on this side to restrict what you can say about them, they are emboldened and changing their law so they get the right to assault you. They have been attacking churches in Israel, knocking down. There's one article where they had, you know how they do, and they put up their little cross and put the little man on it. Oh, they went and knocked the thing down, painted over, set it on fire, did all kind of things. Now this kind of stuff is happening in Israel, but they don't talk to you about that. They're passing laws here that you can't speak against them, but they can throw you in jail for even trying to mention anything past Malachi. Right. Mention something past Malachi in the Holy Land, and you might end up in jail. Quite interesting. Ezekiel chapter 36, and let's start that at verse 1.
Also, you son of man, prophesy unto the mountains of Israel, and say, You mountains of Israel, hear the word of Yahweh. Thus says Yahweh Elohim, because the enemy has said against you, Aha, even the ancient high places are ours in possession.
Is that not being said? Mm-hmm. Okay, go ahead.
Therefore prophesy and say, Thus says Yahweh Elohim, because they have made you desolate and swallowed you up on every side, that you might be a possession unto the residue of the heathen. Mm-hmm. And you are taken up in the lips of talkers and are an infamy of the people.
Right. The infamy of the people. Every news story has our wrongs on it. Everything we do is shown on the news. It got to the point where, you know, when me and Priest Kish go to teach in the prison, we're trying to figure out where all these Gentiles come from. We'll never see y'all on the news. How y'all get in here? And understand, they got to do something 10 times worse than us to get in there. Find out, man, what you do to get in jail? Oh, I killed a man and cut him open. I ate his kidneys with rice. What? Oh, they got to do all kind of stuff to get locked. Now, how is it that wasn't on the news? You would think if you cut open somebody and had dinner on top of their corpse, you know, surely that should have made Channel 5. But Keisha and Man getting to fighting, that's on the news though. Mm-hmm. Right. This is how you become an infamy among the people. It's the same tactics that were being used during slavery. Soon as slavery was over, black brute stares at white woman. Boom. Automatically, whole town get caught on fire. Same tricks. But we've gotten so accustomed to it, we don't even notice it's happening anymore. You have people that say, I hate watching the news. They don't even know why they hate it. You hate it because you get tired of seeing your people paraded around. And if you think about what it is, when they show you in the lockup, you understand how that's making America great again, right? You understand that looks just like the auction block. When you got to stand up to take the picture and go from side to side, what do you think they did during the auction block? They just come up and touch you? They put Vaseline all over you till you shine. To this day, we still oiling ourselves up. Come just touch on you. What do you think they doing in the picture part? Turn to the left. There's another side of that y'all don't see. When you go in there and they checking you, mm-hmm. and they have cavity search. Yeah. Right. It resembles the auction block. Okay. Go ahead.
Therefore, you mountains of Israel, hear the word of the Adonai Yah. Thus says the Adonai Yah to the mountains and to the hills, to the rivers and to the valleys, to the desolate wastes and to the cities that are forsaken, which became a prey and derision to the residue of the heathen that are round about. Therefore, thus says the Adonai Yah, surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen, and against all Idumea, mm-hmm. which have appointed my land into their possession.
Appointed my land into their possession. Now, according to what's written in Daniel, it says that the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom. The kingdom was not taken. It was appointed. The kingdom was given through a treaty. It was appointed. Okay, go ahead.
With the joy of all their heart, with despiteful minds to cast it out for a prey. Prophesy therefore concerning the land of Israel, and say unto the mountains, and to the hills, to the rivers, and to the valleys, thus says the Adonai Yahweh, behold, I have spoken in my jealousy and in my fury, because you have borne the shame of the heathen. Therefore thus says the Adonai Yah, I have lifted up mine hand. Surely the heathen that are about you, they shall bear their shame. But you, O mountains of Israel, you shall shoot forth your branches, and yield your fruit to my people of Israel, for they are at hand to come. For behold, I am for you, and I'll turn unto you, and you shall be tilled and sown. And I'll multiply men upon you, all the house of Israel, even all of it, and the cities that shall be inhabited, and the waste shall be built. And I'll multiply upon you man and beast, and they shall increase and bring fruit. And I'll settle you after your old estates.
I will settle you after your old estates. Somebody working on your house right now. You don't even know it. And even when you pick something, you think you picked it. Yahweh already picked it. He's telling the contractor right now, no. Suck want his patio bigger. Go a little bit wider. The contractor in Israel is like, who is Suck? Right. Go ahead.
And I'll do better unto you than at your beginnings, and you shall know that I am Yahweh. Yes, I will cause men to walk upon you, even my people Israel, and they shall possess you, and you shall be their inheritance, and you shall no more henceforth bereave them of men. Thus says the Adonai Yah, because they say unto you, you land devoureth up men, and have bereaved your nations. Therefore you shall devour men no more, neither bereave your nations any more, says the Adonai Yah. Neither will I cause men to hear in you the shame of the heathen any more, neither shall you bear the reproach of the people any more, neither shall you cause your nations to fall any more, says the Adonai Yah. Moreover, the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, when the house of Israel dwelt in their own land, they defiled it by their own way and by their doings. Their way was before me as the uncleanness of a removed woman. Wherefore I poured my fury upon them for the blood that they had shed upon the land, and for their idols wherewith they had polluted it. And I scattered them among the heathen.
I scattered them among the heathen because they would not do righteously in my land. This is how Yahweh punishes the children of Israel. I need for you to get this, and I need for it to reside in your mind, your heart, and your spirit. Yahweh said that Israel was created to be a servant. So your punishment, if you do not serve him, is to serve the nations. He didn't say he was going to set you on fire, he was going to burn you, he was going to gas you, he was going to do any of that. He said that your punishment is you're going to be perpetual servants until you realize that you were made to be my servant. So if you ever want to figure out why we were made slaves, just pick up your book. He told you how he punishes his people. He puts them in captivity over and over and over and over again. We move one place, they let us stay there for a little while, boom, then they put us in captivity. We run out of that place, they let us stay there for a while, boom, we in captivity. What's happening? He said you're going to keep having it until you learn how to follow me. Until you realize the purpose in which you were created. You were created to serve your Elohim. So you're going to serve something. Choose you this day. What are you going to serve? Go ahead.
You know, my brother, when you go back to verse 10, it says, and I will multiply men upon you, all the house of Israel, even all of it. But we got so-called just the Jews there, right?
Right.
And they keep saying don't look for no other
Don't look
tribe.
for nobody. In other words, we don't want to hear nothing what Yahweh got to say.
And we in the Tanakh.
Exactly. But we don't want to hear nothing what Yahweh got to say to them. See? I know he says something about some lost tribes, but don't worry, we'll find them ourselves. We'll pick, y'all don't look for them. Go ahead.
And they were dispersed through the countries according to their way and according to their doings, I judged them. And when they entered onto the heathen, whether they went, they profaned my holy name. When they said to them, these are the people of Yahweh, and are gone forth out of his land. But I had pity for mine holy name, which the house of Israel had profaned among the heathen, whither they went. Therefore say unto the house of Israel, thus says the Adonai Yah, I do not this for your sakes, O house of Israel, but for mine holy name's sakes, which you have profaned among the heathen, whither you went. And I'll sanctify my great name, which was profaned among the heathen, which you have profaned in the midst of them. And the heathen shall know that I am Yahweh, says the Adonai Yah, when I shall be sanctified in you before their eyes. For I'll take you from among the heathen.
I will take you from among the heathen. The children of Israel will be taken away from among the heathen. Go ahead.
And gather you out of all countries and will bring you into your own land.
Now, we know for a fact this is not our land. And we know that if we go back in our history, we're not going to get no receipt for the trip. Go ahead.
Then will I sprinkle clean water upon you, and you shall be clean. From all your filthiness and from all your idols will I cleanse you. A new heart also will I give you, and a new spirit will I put within you. And I'll take away the stony heart out of your flesh, and I'll give you an heart of flesh. And I'll put my spirit within you, and cause you to walk in my statutes, and you shall keep my judgments and do them. And you shall dwell in the land that I gave to your fathers, and you shall be my people, and I'll be your El. I will also save you from all your uncleanness, and I'll call for the corn and will increase it, and lay no famine upon you. And I'll multiply the fruit of the tree and the increase of the field, that you shall receive no more reproach of famine among the heathen.
Right, because the heathen controls us through their famine. They control us through the flow of goods. That's the reason why we have grocery stores disappearing in our neighborhoods. Grocery stores all of a sudden being shut down. Do you understand that if there's ever a blockade that blocks off certain streets, you know that you are now cut off from groceries? We done forgot how to farm. Our people been leaving the country for a long time. When I got in trouble when I was young and had to go down to the country, I learned a whole lot of stuff. Years later, I came back home, started running into everybody from the country. What happened? As soon as they got an education, they got up out of there. We don't know how to do any of those things anymore. We're going to regret doing that here very shortly. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 60. Isaiah chapter 60, and we're going to start that at verse 1.
Arise, shine, for your light is come, and the glory of Yahweh is risen upon you. For, behold, the darkness shall cover the earth, and gross darkness the people. But Yahweh shall arise upon you.
Wait a minute now. So then now he's turning the tables. For, behold, the darkness shall cover the earth, gross darkness the people, but Yahweh shall arise upon you. Why? Because these people need a savior. What did he say? They said, why does your master go among sinners? He said, the well don't need a physician. No, I'm going to those afflicted people who needs a savior. Go ahead.
And his glory shall be seen upon you, and the Gentiles shall come to your light.
Now, see, this is how the game is being played. So people will then have to transform themselves to do this. They have to transform themselves from being a Gentile to then say that the Gentiles are coming to them. Go ahead.
And kings to the brightness of your rising. Lift up your eyes round about and see. All they gather themselves together, they come to you. Your sons shall come from far, and your daughters shall be nursed at your side. Then you shall see and flow together, and your heart shall fare and be enlarged, because the abundance of the sea shall be converted unto you. The forces of the Gentiles shall come unto you.
Right, and we understand that that does surely not happen unto us at this point. When you talk about the forces of the Gentiles, this is the wealth and the technology, which most of it they have stolen from us and then added things to it. Go ahead.
The multitude of camels shall cover you, the dromedaries of Midian and Ephah. All they from Sheba shall come. They shall bring gold and incense, and they shall show forth the praise of Yahweh. All the flocks of Kedar shall be gathered together unto you. The rams of Nebaioth shall minister unto you. They shall come up with the acceptance on mine altar, and I'll glorify the house of my glory. Who are these that fly as a cloud, and as the doves to their windows? Surely the isles shall wait for me, and the ships of Tarshish first, to bring your sons from far.
All right, the ships of Tarshish. We look up Tarshish, it's Spain. Who had those ships that were shipping us all across the globe? The Spanish ships. So then we must ask that question to other individuals. Okay, how did you end up in these other countries, and were you transported by way of ships? Because Yahweh says how his people are going, how his people are going to return. So when people tell me that they are debunking Deuteronomy 28, well, look, I'm going to need you to debunk Isaiah, Zechariah, Jeremiah. I'm going to need you to debunk a whole lot of other things. Please don't start and stop at debunking Deuteronomy 28. I'm going to need you to keep going. You need a whole debunking party. Go ahead.
Their silver and their gold with them, unto the name of Yahweh your Elohim, and to the Holy One of Israel, because he has glorified you. And the sons of strangers shall build up your walls.
Look at that. This is going to be, a first for us, that we're not the workforce. The sons of strangers are going to do, you're going to direct work. This is something that other people have already been doing. Go ahead.
And their kings shall minister unto you. For in my wrath I smote you, but in my favor have I had mercy on you. Therefore your gates shall be open continually. They shall not be shut day nor night, that men may bring unto you the forces of the Gentiles, and that their kings may be brought. For the nation and kingdom that will not serve you shall perish. Yes, those nations shall be utterly wasted. The glory of Lebanon shall come unto you, the fir tree, the pine tree, and the box together, to beautify the place of my sanctuary, and I'll make the place of my feet glorious. The sons also of them that afflicted you shall come bending unto you.
And this greatly bothers people. This greatly bothers people. The sons also of them who afflicted you. So now, if this is why people don't want you to be Israel, because then they got to say, wait a minute, we know who afflicted them. We know who afflicted them. So you telling me little Johnny gonna pay for what Grandpa did? You have a problem with it? Please take it up with the author. Here, please don't bring it here. He says, the sons also of them that afflicted you shall come bending unto you. Go ahead.
And all they that despise you shall bow themselves down at the soles of your feet, and they shall call you the city of Yahweh, the Zion of the Holy One of Israel.
Right. But was it not us who were made to not look in the eyes of other people? Wasn't it us who had to look down and bow down to other individuals? Okay, go ahead.
Whereas you have been forsaken and hated, so that no man went through you, I'll make you an eternal excellency, a joy of many generations. You shall also suck the milk of the Gentiles, and shall suck the breast of kings, and you shall know that I, Yahweh, am your Savior and your Redeemer, the mighty one of Yaakov.
And you have to consider all of these things that Yahweh is dealing with, the things that have happened to Israel, and then and repaying them on a spiritual level. When he's saying, suck the milk of the Gentiles, then you have to consider something. It was our mothers who had to breastfeed other children and starve their own. Yahweh's going to take care of his business. What we have to do is take care of the part of his business that pertains unto us. And the first part of that is learning how to walk. This is why they don't want you to learn how to walk. This is why any form of righteous music has been taken away from us. It used to be a point that we used to have to go to the underground to get, gangster rap. They didn't play that on the radio. NWA went platinum and was never on the radio. We didn't go to the radio to listen to that. Now you can't hear anything but that on the radio. 7:15 in the morning, taking your kids to school. Murder, murder, death, death, kill, kill. Murder, death, kill. Drop it to the floor. What? to go somewhere else to get that. So now, any conscious hip hop, you got to make that on your own. You got to find that on your own. They don't even put that out anymore. When they find out you intelligent, you just lost your record deal. Wait a minute, bro. You went to college. Shelf him. Absolutely not. We're not putting this out. You did not tell us you went to college. We thought you was a drug dealer dropout. That's why we signed you. That's why we was gonna put this money behind you. We put out drug dealers and dropouts and killers. What do you mean you know how to read? Don't you come back here ever again. Right. Did you finish that, brother?
Yes.
Let's go to, let us hear the conclusion of this matter. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 62. And we're going to read verses 8 through 12.
Isaiah chapter 62 and verse 8. Yahweh has sworn by his right hand and by the arm of his strength, surely I will no more give your corn to be meat for your enemies.
Right. Understand something. Even when we work and the taxes are taken out of our check, we are already funding Israel and every other nation. Those things are being taken from us and given to other people. We can't get disability, but the people who come from Ukraine come here with a card and a check before they even set foot on American soil. But we are paying for that. We have paid for the bombs that have gone to other countries to blow up people who look just like us. Go ahead.
And the sons of the strangers shall not drink your wine, for the which you have labored. But they that have gathered it shall eat it, and praise Yahweh. And they that have brought it together shall drink it in the courts of my holiness. Go through the gates. Prepare ye the way of the people. Cast up the highway. Gather out the stones. Lift up a standard for the people. Behold, Yahweh has proclaimed unto the end of the world. Say you to the daughter of Zion, behold, your salvation comes. Behold, his reward is with him, and his work before him. And they shall call them the holy people, the redeemed of Yahweh. And you shall be called sought out, a city not forsaken. You
shall be called sought out, a city not forsaken. So, you know, when we look at some of these things, and please get ready for the propaganda, because people have learned by the things that they have encountered, and they have taken those things that have happened to them, and they use that as a propaganda machine for their own propaganda. All right. So then we have to be ready for those things when they come toward us, and we're just now seeing the beginning of it. As it is written, if it were possible, they shall deceive even the very elect. But it's not possible to deceive the very elect. Because even if you didn't study, even if you didn't read, Yahweh will make something happen that gives you some form of understanding right before the thing goes down. You will be headed into a law office and you have absolutely no knowledge of law. And right the night before it, you can't sleep and turn on the TV, and the episode of Law and Order that has what you about to go through will be on television, and then you go to court and say, I seen this last night. Don't do that. Don't do that. We're not guilty. This is what we need to do. So wait a minute, man. I'm the lawyer. I know that. I know I'm not a lawyer, but I watched Law and Order last night. Look. But it will be what your Elohim caused for you. See? This is how he talks to you. Are you listening? That's all that we're going to do for today. Remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.